What's up, people? This is a special Championship Wednesday edition of the Allen Powell Show, and it's about to go down. Got a lot to discuss. Got new champions. Giannis made some post-game comments. Where does Chris Paul go from here? All that and more, man. So y'all check in, lock and load with the fam. Let's get it.
We lock and load, Allen Powell. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on.
Welcome, everyone, to a special Wednesday night championship edition of the Allen Powell Show. Didn't want to compete with Game 6 last night, so we pushed it back a day. I got my brother in Cali back like he never left, Mr. Cliff Mason, holding us down. Man. How you doing, brother?
Good to be here. I'm doing all right. You know, after last night's celebration, I'm doing all right.
Yeah. So you satisfied with what happened last night?
Very much, and I'm sure we're about to get into it.
Definitely. And for I think the third week in a row, Milwaukee-based brother, he's still holding down his Chicago ghetto, but we got some Milwaukee champs. Mr. Amaru is in the building. How you doing, my brother?
Man, I am good. The universe is finally back aligned to what it's supposed to be in the NBA. So we are ready and locked and loaded. Let's go. There it
is. So we do have some new NBA champs, man. The Milwaukee Bucks closed it out in 6 games. I forget, Eugene, who did you have before the series? I know you switched to the last show. I know you did switch, and it worked out for you. But did you have the Suns before the series?
Yes, I admit I had the Suns at first, and for reasons well documented. But after that Sarge injury, that's when I switched my pick. And you saw what happened.
You know what I'm saying? Sarge was the
yeah, because you know, I think of a coach's mentality. I think about depth all the time. Depth. And so when I saw, not that he would have made a difference anyway. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But when that happened, I was just like, that don't look too good. So yes, I admit I switched my pick. Yes.
There it is. Cliff, who did you have before the series? I haven't talked to you in a minute, man. Who did you have before the series?
So I love timestamps, and that you asked this question weeks ago on Facebook, on the Allen Powell's Facebook. So I was able to put my answer so no one can say I didn't call this. I said, if the Suns are going to win, they got to do it in 5 because I don't trust Chris Paul in an extended series. He's always got an excuse. His whole career, it's either an injury or something mental. And sure enough, it goes beyond 5 games, and he didn't show up the last 3 games of the series. So I picked the Bucks if it went beyond 5, and I thought Phoenix could win if it was a 5-game series.
Yeah, I do remember you saying that. That is correct. I can't even say that you're lying or anything like that. You did say that, and I actually remember it. Let's talk about the game for a minute, man. As I bring in the highlights to the game, and I just want y'all to and we can talk as they are playing. Man, as we see Giannis with the block, he was dominating on both ends of the court, man. And I actually seen this dude straight will them to victory because Middleton and Drew Holiday didn't have really good nights. And this dude, he made his free throws. He did everything that you could ask him to do for that series. Cliff,
yeah,
where is Giannis in your top list or whatever after this performance?
Oh wow, I didn't think we were gonna get to this early. So
you can just tell me about the game in general. Just go about with the game in general.
So in terms of just individual NBA Finals game performances, to me, this ranks number 2 all time, behind Magic as a rookie when he had to take over when Kareem was hurt.
Okay,
I put this ahead of some of those great LeBron performances in Cleveland when he didn't have much help. I put this ahead of Jordan's performance in the Game 6 at Utah because they scored 87 total points. And I don't care if he scored more than half of them. He didn't really do anything else on the stat sheet, and he wasn't doing really anything else impactful, people talk about, well, Pippen had the flu, and Pippen was still balling and defending at a high level. I rank this performance number 2 all time in the finals.
It was pretty impressive. And just think about it, when he had his injury, some people even think he was going to play. That knee injury looked pretty bad, and for him to come out and it seemed like he got healthier and he got better during the series. Eugene, you in Milwaukee, what did you see from Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks in general?
Well, I have to admit, I didn't see much of the first quarter because we were en route when the first quarter was happening. We were trying to find a seat at the watch party, so I do admit that. But when I saw, I was checking on my phone, I saw that, both teams were struggling. Obviously, that nerves and stuff, and people, they just nervous, right? Palms sweaty. They say booties are tight, palms are sweaty, right? When you're in these situations, so that's understandable. But then when I sat down to start observing the game, and they pulled out to a 13-point lead. It was evident then that the moment started getting too big for the Suns. You started seeing that, and then what was really interesting though, and this is let's answer that question. Okay, where this ranks all time. So I didn't see Magic Johnson's game. Right. To me, the game because I'd have seen a lot of finals games. I'd have seen from 88 on down. To me, this was the most impressive I've ever seen. And I'm not even going to jack you because you got to think about the context. I love context. Yep. Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday started the game 1 for 11.
Trash.
And so, I give him, I wouldn't even, because he's playing hellified defense, so that's understandable. But then remember the people that was on TV talking about Chris Middleton is the closer and he's Batman. He was non-existent. Kendrick Perkins, right? So he was non-existent, and that's okay, right? But then on top of that, remember this young guy was shooting airball free throws and airballing 3-pointers to go 17 for 19 in a closeout game. Yeah. So you facing your demons. Now it wasn't on the road, but it's still you know what I'm saying? It wasn't on the road, right? So you'll get docked a little bit for that, but to put up 50, and then to what someone was saying earlier, I was watching today, to play to your strengths finally, because he would play to his weaknesses to finally, and so you start to see what he could possibly be. And then the demoralization, because Phoenix, at some point, you saw it on there, they're like, we can't stop this dude. For him not to not to be able to shoot jumpers, not to be a good 3-point shooter, not to have real post moves, to have belief in yourself and just say, you know what, it's my time. Let me go on and get this over with right now. This was, and then I didn't even speak on the defensive end. He was a terror. Yeah. So this was very, very impressive. And when I was telling people, I said, no, you got to understand, this is a closeout game. This isn't game 1 or game 2. He done had great 40-point games. My man put up 50. That's it. Yeah. And to your point, I am the hugest Michael Jordan fan. Yeah. And I'll give you context for that, right? Pippen had a bad back, so he barely played. But like you said, now I'm just objective. Michael had one assist and 1 rebound or something like that. Yep. So just be real objective here. This dude had 14 rebounds and 5 blocks. Come on. And then, the only game that I would say LeBron's, but then you get Doc, you didn't win the game, bro. Right. So, I give extra points for winning too. I would say Dwayne Wade, what he was doing, but he wasn't doing this. This was crazy. So I would say best all time for me.
And let me say this, because you brought up a few points. Just talking about the game, Drew Holiday didn't have a good game, but I give a lot of credit to Mikal Bridges. I seen him doing what he was doing to Chris Paul, picking up full court and making it real tough on Drew Holiday. And we got to talk about DeAndre Ayton, man, because this dude, all playoffs, been playing lights out. And when you talk about the moment got too big for him, that's what it looks like. He was missing bunnies, and he just didn't show up enough. Booker, same thing. 8 for 22. I felt like he was trying too hard. He didn't let the game come to him. Too much ISO ball, man. But Giannis was straight dominant, man. And like you say, he finally played to his strengths in an era where it's all about the 3-pointers and all this. Shaq made a point. He said, "Thanks for bringing bully ball back," and that's exactly what he did. He straight bullied his way. And like you said, when he's making his free throws, what you can't even play hacker Giannis because he's making his free throws. But like you said, he do get docked a little bit because it wasn't on the road, and so they wasn't doing a countdown. He didn't have to deal with that.
Right.
So I think on the road, he's still missing them free throws. But kudos to him because he did. You gotta give him credit for making his free throws. Hey, one quick talk. As a Bulls fan, as we see Bobby Portis and his shenanigans, man, you know what, dog? Like, bro, and I heard him in a press conference. He want to get the mic and start talking and stuff. Like, sit down somewhere, man. You're Bobby Portis. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. You're Bobby Portis. You know, I'm glad he found a spot. The fans love him. He's a fan favorite. But let's be honest. But come on, Bobby Portis. Come on, man. He's like the lowest of budgets of low budget.
Chemistry matters, and he found a home.
Yeah.
He's a role player. He'll never be the first, second, or probably even third best on a championship team. But clearly, he's proven he can be a real role player on a championship team. I mean, I think he didn't have the chemistry probably when you guys had to deal with him in Chicago, and it's not on him.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna speak to that because I watched a lot of that game. See, people don't know this. Bobby Portis actually has talent. He was the SEC Player of the Year as a freshman, so he was really good. But this again, and we'll get into this later. I'm pretty sure when you get drafted to bad organizations, you know, and then you got to think about what was going. Fred Hoiberg and all that mess that was going on, and you got Dwayne Wade there with. I think he was still there with Rondo and all. So he was in the mix a little bit, but then you playing behind Paul Gasol, and so you just touching your talent or whatever, and then I think they got rid of him. And I may be wrong. I should have researched, but because they thought Laurie was going to become this superstar or just a great player, and so I think and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think for this team, he actually make it start because of the things that he does. He doesn't step outside of his role. Like he doesn't take bad shots. He doesn't do ill-advised stuff. Like if he's open for the three, he's going to take the shot. If he's down low, he's going to take and make the shot. And so he's more consistent than Brook Lopez. He only played like 20-25 minutes, but those 20-25 minutes are crucial. And I think he had like 16 last night.
16 points. Yeah. And he played down the stretch. To your credit, like they played him down the stretch, not Lopez. So I think that's a big deal. Few comments. Michael Thomas says role players need shine too. I ain't mad at that. Yeah, he needs shine. He made big shots whenever the Suns started making a run. He did make key shots. I give Bobby Portis credit. But when you want to grab the mic and say this and that, like, you know how so at the end of the game, of course, you know, they got the owner, then you got the coach,
he flexing.
You got Giannis, then of course Middleton, because he started the whole thing with Giannis, and then you got Drew Holiday because he was the key piece. But don't go to Bobby Portis after him. Like, man, bro, don't call him. It looked like he actually, after he came up and kind of like, I think like Drew kind of like egged it on, like started saying Bobby, and then you know he felt the juices flowing and he had to just grab the mic. But sit down, man. Sit down. Go ahead, Cliff.
I just wanted to address Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
it's clear, not just now. I think a few months ago it was clear that getting rid of them scrubs, sending them off to the Pelicans for him was the right move. I initially thought last year, I thought they gave up too much for Drew Holiday, who hadn't really proven himself. Clearly, they saw something in him that I didn't. However, throughout the playoffs, not just this series, but against the Nets and against Atlanta, this dude has been an offensive liability.
Yeah.
And last night, it was the same thing. And I'm not going to dismiss because I'm not going to dismiss his offensive failures because he's a great defender. Because if we just go back a generation and a half ago, Gary Payton's one of the best defenders to ever play basketball. And that dude will give you buckets.
Yeah.
The same is true in the 80s. If you go to Isaiah Thomas, you can go back to the 90s with John Stockton and Kevin Johnson in Phoenix. I mean, point guards are supposed to be lockdown defenders and also still be able to give you buckets. Drew Holiday ain't give nobody buckets the whole playoffs. And so, to me, this is why I think Giannis's performance is that much more special because he's really the first person in this era to win without star talent around him. Not even one. People say, well, Chris Middleton made an all-star game. Because they had the best record. That dude ain't an all-star.
Right.
He's an average player that plays on a team with the best player in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a G League player. People don't even know that. He was a G League player. He went to the G League.
And I would say this, man.
He played like G League for 2 quarters every game. You can't be trash for half the game, and then everybody say, and then you started CJ McCollum's statement on Instagram talking about, I hope people consider Middleton for MVP. You got to be the dumbest person. You are not a real basketball fan if you're thinking Middleton deserves MVP honors. The dude did nothing for half the game, every game, not just 1 or 2 games. Every game, Giannis had to carry that trash squad on his back, and thankfully, they got a pulse at some point in the 3rd quarter.
But I'll say this. Drew is a pleasure to watch on a defensive end. You don't see a lot of them like him no more, man. He truly locked down like he's the glove. If he don't stop you, he's going to make it real hard on you. Anything that people made on him was tough, and I can appreciate that, man. QT, our YouTube listener, viewer of Drew Holiday, you know what you're going to get with him defensively. He is amazing, consistent defender, but offensively, he can be a liability or a bucket this playoffs. He has been mostly a liability. Yeah, he's not consistent on the offensive end, but he did show up that game in Phoenix, man. He came through. And so you're going to get some inconsistency. But a lot of people always talk about on the offensive end, it's more of skill. On a defensive end, it's more want. You gotta want to, and he has the want to, and that's one thing I can respect. Go ahead.
This is the thing, though. I'm gonna chime in on that too. In this era, right? And Isaiah Thomas, he I love when he speaks on this defensive capabilities of the point guards. He says the reason you don't see like they're like so when they're pushing up 94 feet and pressing these point guards. You don't see that often. You know why? Because we're in an era of analytics. And so a lot of times they want you to preserve your energy, right, in your minutes. And so they're not used to playing that way. A lot of them not used to playing that way. And so he gets spent a lot of time, not making any excuses, but just explaining what he does. And so especially for the Bucks team, I was going to say that's a great comparable comparison. He reminds me of a slower, I would say a lower version of Gary Payton defensively because of his versatility. He's a bigger guard. He got long arms. He's fearless. He just doesn't give you the consistency on the offensive end. And also, to me, Chris Middleton reminds me of a slightly more athletic Paul Pierce, but without the mindset, if that makes sense. Because Paul was a killer. He was a killer, but Paul had better footwork, but they move similar. Like they games are very similar. He's just he's inconsistent. He's very inconsistent though.
Go ahead, Cliff.
I was going to say, no, I like that comparison. I actually haven't heard that. I've never heard that comparison. I think it's an accurate one, with the only exception being Paul Pierce wasn't non-existent in the first half of playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. You are absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah. And I agree. That's a good comparison. But Paul Pierce, he has that clutch. Gene.
Yes.
He's going to get buckets.
Yeah. He was a dog. People hate him, but he was a dog. He was a dog. Yes, he was. He was a dog.
QT says Giannis is on pace on being a top 10 player of all time. The 2020s is going to be Giannis' decade. Okay, so let's get to it, man, because we are one of those prisoner of the moments things. He did just win a championship, and some people was talking about they put him over Kevin Garnett. He got a ring and this and that. I was like, let's slow your roll, slow down. They both got one ring. Let's slow down a little bit, Let's not do that, you know what I'm saying? But he did.
He's already ahead of KG.
Wait a minute. Stop it. As I put on the Giannis highlights of his performance last night, because it was epic. And we can talk as his highlights play. He balled out. But why do you got to go so far as to say he's better than Kevin Garnett? Let's not forget the big ticket and what he did his whole career. Like, they both got one ring. Giannis, he's 26 years old.
Okay.
Go ahead, Cliff. Go ahead, B. They usually say overreaction Monday after football.
No.
Go ahead.
This isn't prisoner of the moment. This is prisoner of this man's body of work, and he's only 26. He don't get the same respect that any other star gets. And KG is one of my favorite players of all time. But you can't compare this dude winning a championship with Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton to KG winning with Doc Rivers and 2 Hall of Famers on his squad and Rondo in his prime.
Don't forget what he did in Minnesota before he got to Boston. Don't forget about
lost to Kobe every year. He didn't do anything. He never won anything in Minnesota. He was filling up the stats books, but that's Russell Westbrook does the same thing. We ain't gonna never say Russell Westbrook's a top 5 player, top 10 player. I don't care about stats.
He did make it to the playoffs. He just didn't get over the hump in Minnesota. Okay,
exactly.
So if you want to say because he got over the hump in Milwaukee, that puts him over the hump. Okay, but I'm not ready to go there.
KG. So Giannis' stats so far, he's only 26. He's been an MVP, 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defense. He's been a Defensive Player of the Year, a 2-time MVP, a champion, and a Finals MVP. KG don't have that body of work.
So you saying if he don't never play another basketball game?
Yes.
Wow, Eugene.
If he don't play another basketball game, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Hold on, stop. Let's stop. Hold on. I had to pull out the stop sign. So wait. So check this out. I'm a KG guy. That's my favorite player of all time, right? Okay. So I'm a little bit biased. And I'll give you context. You know, the McQuays are my cousins. They played him in high school when they was at Westside. He was at Farragut. Mm-hmm. So I seen him up close and personal since he was. That's why I've been a fan. This before ESPN and all this stuff, YouTube and all this stuff. So I've been a KG guy from the beginning. You can't put him ahead of him, right? Because of the accolades,
right?
But we still got to see more from him because KG has way more skill than him.
There you go.
Offensively, the stuff that he's doing defensively, I seen KG do. The stuff that he's doing now, oh yes, I've seen KG.
We've never seen KG guard 5 positions.
I've
seen point guard.
I've seen Kevin Garnett stick Jason Kidd and switch off on Amari Stoudemire. And this is what I'm saying. This was my era. I remember this stuff. So he's more versatile. I would give him that. He's more versatile.
He's more versatile.
He's a better passer.
Yes.
I don't think he's a better one-on-one. He's a great help defender. But I think Kevin Garnett was a better one-on-one defender. Because remember, you got to look at the era. Maybe. Kevin Garnett was playing against Chris Webber, Dirk Nowitzki, Rasheed Wallace. He was playing against dogs, Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward ever. He really is not playing against nobody in the paint.
Nope.
And so, this is I would slow down on it because you got who would be comparable to him is Embiid. When you see him and Embiid,
he's not playing Embiid.
That's what I'm saying.
He's not going to line up against Embiid. They're going to put Lopez on Embiid.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they didn't even put Lopez on DeAndre Ayton.
But that's what I'm saying.
Listen, so DeAndre Ayton played Giannis, but Giannis didn't play Ayton.
Right? He played him.
You guys watch the games. He blocked Ayton half. That's why Ayton was shut down. Ayton was out of his mental because Giannis took him out of it mentally. It wasn't because Ayton had a bad playoffs.
Giannis didn't have to play Ayton because Ayton is not an offensive force like that. So he didn't have to defend.
Exactly.
That's Ayton was a force the first 3 rounds, and all of a sudden in the finals, he's not an offensive force. He wasn't because Giannis took him out of that.
That team is too big when you got Brook and Giannis.
But it would be big. No, people, you can't just look at the height on the roster. Yes, the Bucks are physically larger in stature, but they don't play big. Brook Lopez is outside of the 3-point line longer than guards are.
I'm not going to give that credit to Giannis. It was a team effort. Brook Lopez length has something to do with that. Go ahead, Eugene.
I gotta wait on that because, like I said, you got to look at your competition at your position, and so I don't because it's hard to judge him because he does more guard stuff than Garnett. Garnett was literally in the paint and 15 on in. So he's more handling the ball. Garnett, he's a way better ball handler than Garnett ever was. Yeah. I'll give him that. But the stuff people forget his impact defensively on when he first got to Boston, they skyrocketed. Obviously, he playing with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and Rondo, but you can't use Doc as a gem because we see what Doc Rivers is. He's not a good coach. And see, this is why I always going to be in his camp, because if you look at all the teams Doc has had after KG, they have not won. Kevin Garnett, that team, he was an inspirational leader. They had a thing called Ubuntu. And see that that was my favorite player. So I know what I'm talking about. I would slow down on that. Yeah, he's in the conversation already because you gotta talk about him, Duncan, KG, and Barkley, and Kevin. I put Kevin McHale there too because he had work. Kevin Mack had some work.
Where does Dirk fall?
And Dirk, let me get my guy Dirk. Yeah. But I wouldn't. You got to show me more because
he was dominant.
No, and we're not disrespecting what he did. I love Giannis, I love him, but his next step is the mental part and you start seeing some of that in the game yesterday because he started locking in. I can't do this. Yeah. They cannot stop me. When you get in that domination mentality, it's gonna be ugly. The NBA is gonna be ugly for him.
Go ahead, Cliff.
I'm gonna be real quick. I think this dude is special for one more major reason. The only legitimate flaw in his game is that he can't shoot outside of 10 feet.
Absolutely. Yep.
And he's inconsistent from the free throw line.
Absolutely.
But other than that, what flaws do we see in his game?
His post work. His footwork is a little sloppy.
Sure.
And so that's what I'm saying. What's crazy, he don't even have to have real post work in this era because they don't play down there. All he needs is a jump hook. Like he did with KD when they played Brooklyn. If he mastered that and then he get a counter to that, it's over. He's too big.
But you know what I like the most about him? He finally got down and straight bullied them.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm tired of the 3-point shooting from these big guys who can dominate. And B can take some notes from what he just saw from Giannis.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? What?
Embiid, and this is why we got to stop when we talk about big. Stop putting Embiid up there. There's a reason that Giannis came back from what it looked like would be an excruciating, could be season-ending injury.
Are you going to talk about his injuries?
Because of what he does in the offseason. All of us play sport.
That's
and
fair.
If you do what you're supposed to do in the offseason, you can withstand those little minor injuries and hurts and nicks and knacks. You guys know I'm not a LeBron fan, but what can we say about LeBron? Ability is availability, and LeBron's been available for his teams throughout his career because he does everything he's supposed to in the offseason. We can't say that about James Harden. We can't say that about Kevin Durant. We can't say that about Kyrie. We can't say that about Joel Embiid. We can't say that about some of the stars in this game because it shows in how often they're injured because your body can withstand that and can bounce back quicker if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in the offseason.
He never hurt. Giannis never hurt.
I don't think we ever seen anything like Giannis. He's a thoroughbred. He reminds me of some type of gazelle running up and down the court. Like, this dude is a freak. We thought we never seen nothing like LeBron. But for this size, length, bro, he's cut. He's cut. Like, this dude, when he makes a face, muscles start busting out. Like, dude, it's ridiculous, man. Like, this dude, I don't know. I want to get into some of his post-game conference because he said some things that was very interesting. I know a lot of people are seeing it, but for the people who haven't seen it, I'm going to play his post-game conference, and we're going to talk about it because it's a preference, I think. So here we go, Giannis in post-game, and listen to what he had to say. Let me see if I can unmute it.
I already know what clip you're going to play.
Job that had to be finished. I feel like the bubble did not pay us justice. Give credit to Miami. He played great, but he did not pay us justice. Like, everybody was feeling homesick. We're a family-oriented team, wanted to share families. But coming back, I was like, this is my city. They trust me. They believe in me. They believe in us. Even when we were lost, the city still was like on our side. And You know, obviously, I want to get the job done. You know, but that's my stubborn side. Like it's easy to go somewhere and go and win a championship with somebody else. It's easy. I could go. I don't put anybody in the spot, but I could go to a super team and just do my part and win a championship. Still one. But this is the hard way to do it, and this is the way.
Yes.
And we did it. Fucking did it.
Right.
Man.
Talk your talk.
I'm moving right there.
Talk your talk, bro.
First of all, let me just say this. I think his accent makes him more likable. I don't know what it is.
I love it.
The accent makes him more likable. Is it just me, or does his accent make him more likable? But he said, go ahead.
I was gonna say with the fans and with the media, yes, but I want to talk later about why the rest of the a lot of NBA players hate on this dude.
We gotta talk about that too. Absolutely, yeah.
He said a few things and he slapped his hand on the table like he was emphatic. You know what I'm saying? He said he could have went to a super team, played his role, got a ring, but no, he wanted to do it that way. He wanted to stay home, homegrown. He did it in Milwaukee, and it's whether he know it or not, he took some shots.
Oh, he did.
LeBron, KD, James Harden, Kyrie, all these people who's been jumping the teams. He took some shots, whether he wanted to or not. He done it. So let's analyze what he said, and then I want to know from the people: do you like them homegrown, or are you okay with the super team? Which one you like more? But Eugene, when you hear them comments and how he said it. I know Milwaukee loves it. You in Milwaukee, and I think you're old school. You have old school mentality, so I know you love it. But what do you think about his comments?
I love his comments because it's a couple things. For one, you're teaching the young kid, like the kids that's coming up after him, how it's supposed to be done, right? And so, and I give an example. I have a cousin who loves LeBron James. Like he loves him, right? Him and James Harden are his favorite players. When Giannis was pulling this off, I get a text from him. He was like, "Now I understand what you were saying." And see, this because I coach, so it's like they don't understand. Like you going to take some L's in life. Like I'm just not even basketball. That's in life. Your life is never going to be perfect. Stuff is not going to never be perfect in your life, right? But when you determine and you persevere and you regroup, you like, okay, let me find out what I need to work on. Right, because everything's cool when it's perfect and everything you win it, right? But when you start like what Mike Tyson say, everybody got a plan till they get punched in the mouth, right? So when you get punched, okay, what I need to do, and so to see this, and let's not misconstrue what happened. Like this dude took some humiliating losses. Like when he was up 2-0 against the Raptors, I'm sitting here like, damn, this looked pretty easy.
Yeah,
they built that wall and he was done.
Yeah. And
then last year he got hurt and they kind of did the same. Miami kind of punked them, so for him to regroup to beat Miami, and this is the thing, I do not want to hear nothing about these injuries, because if you look at all these champions that's going down the line, starting with one of my favorite teams, the Warriors, they were hurt. Well, Kyrie was hurt. The next year Steph was hurt. LeBron, they were pretty healthy those 2 seasons, but then 2019, Kevin Durant was hurt. Last year, you had Dragic and Bam. So that's what happens, right? That's just what happens throughout the NBA season, right? And so for me, I like it homegrown because it shows perseverance. It shows your mental toughness because we had these Etna conversations all the time, right? That's where we're from, Etna and Gary. And so when we used to go play basketball, we hated playing on the same team. Because I want to show how good I am versus you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what Marcus Ford. That's why he speaks the way he does, because we don't want to play on the same team. We want to play. I know you better than me, but I want you to show me you better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Show me and if you can't show me, you're not better than me. You know what I'm saying? That's the mentality, right? And for him to go the path he went, to not join up, and then think about this. He looked Kevin Durant eye to eye, Game 6 and Game 7. Right, Kevin Durant had a great Game 5. He had good Game 6, but great Game 7. He beat that man.
Yeah.
So you can never. I don't care. Harden was hurt. Kyrie was hurt. Hell, DiVincenzo was hurt. He was hurt himself.
Bro, that injury was nasty.
So
that injury was nasty.
I don't like, bro. This is rewarding because And it also it does this too. Make no mistake about it. Look at Anthony Davis. People not talking about this. Remember Anthony Davis he ran up out of New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
I can't play with them. They're not winning. Who was his teammate? Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday. Yeah.
Come on now. So he actually won with something you left behind. As the best player, you got a ring as the second best player, supposedly, right?
Yeah.
He won. So come on now. We got to get this man his flowers. And so when you do it homegrown, you get nothing but respect from me.
Cliff, as you see his press conference and he slaps the table, said we effing did it. You know what I'm saying? What was your thoughts about his post-game conference?
I'm going to answer that real quick, but before I forget this thought, right? Because as he was talking, he reminded me about this injuries. I keep hearing all this. Well,
I hate it.
If Kawhi was healthy, they would have won. If Embiid was healthy, if Harden and Kyrie were healthy, and I think we have to, because you made a point earlier, you're talking about context is relevant, and that's like the most important statement when you're talking about sports analysis. And this is, I'm going to give you some context. I was looking at the stats while he was going. In his career, Kevin Durant has played 82 games one time.
Man, come on with it. Come on.
One time. Everything else is in the 60s and 70s. In his career, James Harden has played 82 games one time.
Come on with it.
30s, a single game, 40s, 60s. In his career, Kyrie Irving has played 82 games, never.
See?
So you can say if these dudes were healthy, they never been healthy.
Wait. Healthy or they taking time off. I love Kyrie Irving. He just taking time off. Bro, what is you doing?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That was that. I think it's important for people to reference that. And the same is true with Anthony Davis talking about the Phoenix Suns dodged a bullet. Anthony Davis ain't never played 82 games. Right. He stayed hurt in New Orleans. Can we stop this, please? Yeah.
All right. He's bound to get injured somewhere down the line. And it was goofy how he got injured too, but go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah. So I both agree with Giannis' statement, but also for political reasons, I'm not anti-super team because I like that in this era in the National Basketball Association, because of the collective bargaining agreement, they're able to have more autonomy. I've got no problem with these guys saying, I want to do X with my career, and I know my legacy is going to be attached to me having rings. So in order to kind of expedite that process or to make that process easier, I'm going to combine forces with these other stars. I got no problem with that. However, I think when we're making comparative legacy arguments, I think we do have to acknowledge LeBron only did it after he joined Dwayne and Chris Bosh. And after they gave them the blueprint, then he was able to do it with Kyrie and Kevin Love. It's like, okay, Kevin Garnett did it after he had to join forces with Paul Pierce. I think we have to, because if these guys did it on their own with trash teams, like what Giannis just did, I think that's important. So I'm not anti-super teams, but I think when we're talking about legacy, we got to talk about these things. Like it has to be acknowledged that they did it with a whole lot of help.
Yes.
Let me ask a question though, because I know front office is involved in this, and we have to say when players leave, did the front office actually knew what they was doing to put the right team around them, or it was no way they could have done it? Like, at what point do you say, okay, he's not going to get it done for me? Like, I don't believe he's going to get it done. Do you just completely stick it out knowing that you don't have faith in the front office? Like, I mean, if you're a player, Eugene, and you see your front office, you don't believe that they can put the right pieces around you, and you want to be loyal, but you don't have no faith in the front office. What do you do with that?
And that's a great question. But before we answer that question, I got one, because it's kind of in the same realm.
Okay.
So we were talking earlier, Brian and Eric and Bone. I said, let's rewind, right? So because when you talk about super teams, obviously they say the 80s with the Celtics and the Lakers, but for this era, the guy that you're looking for and you want to reference is LeBron James, right? Mm-hmm. Remember when he left, right? And I said so because the whole he needs to learn how to win. Oh, he doesn't. The front office is terrible. And it goes to your point. So, and I asked this question. I said, so if you notice when he left, it went from bad front office to oh, I just wasn't comfortable there. I need to learn how to win, right? That got spun into player empowerment, and then he was doing I that's okay, right?
Good point.
So now we want to think about this though. What if he actually would have won? Would he would have left? I don't think so.
No.
And see, this is the point that this is the hypocrisy of his career. If you look at Giannis, 2-time MVP, best record in the NBA twice, gets bounced, right? Same thing. It's very identical to LeBron. 2-time MVP, 60-win team, gets bounced, right? The difference, though, that man stayed. He ran because we got to, and just to answer your question, the context in this is that at the time they had J.J. Hickson. I remember this because I actually was a LeBron fan. When he left, that's what I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
They refused to trade J.J. Hickson because LeBron thought he was going to be a great player for Amari Stoudemire.
Wow.
And so you had power in that organization.
Right.
They were making moves. It wasn't like they was just trading people because you had a hand in that. You had a hand in Delonte West being your teammate. You had a hand in Antoine Jameson being your teammate. It just didn't work out. And this is another thing. It wasn't like he was getting bounced in the first round. He was losing the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep. And I will say this: what happened the second time around? Because you went back. So was it the fact that you didn't have faith in that organization, or was it that you needed to learn how to win? I want to get to Michael Thomas' comment before I get to you, Clip, because I think he made a great comment. We need more homegrown championships. The fans need it. We as a society need to reset and realize that everything ain't supposed to come easy. You shouldn't be able to just buy your way to the top. That's not the reality for most Americans. And I definitely think it's a life lesson in that, because you can't just up and leave when stuff get hard. You can't just throw money at a problem when it gets hard. So I think it's a life lesson in that. I think that's a great comment. That's one way to look at it. Cliff, go ahead.
Sure, but the problem is it's not like these players are buying their way into anything. They might be manipulating their way into situations a la James Harden, but they're not buying their way into anything because they don't control the keys to the purse, right? I mean, essentially, we have these – I think they changed the term to chairman, so they got away from that slave kind of language of owner. But, I mean, you have these team chairmen that are essentially – they hold the keys. So I don't disagree with the comment. I just think people need to understand – a lot of these things are out of their control, but the only thing that they can control is what they do when they're on the court. The problem is they don't always have the clout, right, or the capital, the social capital of a LeBron to determine who gets to play with you. Damian Lillard has been, I would argue, I'm a Clyde Drexler fan till I die. Yeah. Damian Lillard is the best Portland Trailblazer ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Already. Already. And so the idea that you have somebody with that kind of talent with no power, he hasn't been able to get anybody. How have they not? Kevin Love is from Lake Oswego. How is the front office in Portland not pulled every string
to get him there?
Some kind of package to Cleveland to get that guy to come play with Damian Lillard. So that's what. To his point, to the commenter's point, it's like, yeah, I see that the fans need it, but ultimately you got to get on ownership. It's not on the players. The owners got to do something to support the fans, like what Milwaukee did, making a big splash to go out and get Drew Holiday.
After it.
How many teams are going to be willing to commit $500 million like Milwaukee to 3 players? Because Middleton, Giannis, and Holiday combined, $500 million. How many teams are willing to do that? If you're not willing to do that, you can't look at the players who want to leave. You got to look at the front office and say, we're going to lose these guys if you're not willing to pay them. And that's what's happening.
I want to talk about Chris Paul, because I think a lot of people was rooting for him. He's been in the league a long time. A lot of people was rooting for him. I ain't gonna lie, I was rooting for him. You know what I'm saying? I was rooting for him. I was rooting for Monty Williams, the black coach. I'm rooting for the black coach. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you one thing I loved about Giannis. This is what I think Giannis mentality. I don't care nothing about your story, your storyline, or what I'm taking this from you, and you can't do nothing about it. Yeah. That's the mentality I think he was saying behind closed doors. He wouldn't say it publicly, but I think behind the scenes, like, bro, I don't care nothing about you. I don't care nothing about Monty Williams and his tragedy and all of that. I'm sorry for all that. Right, this is mine for the taking, and I'm going to take it.
Right.
What does Chris Paul do now? Like, this is, some people say that the window is closed. This is the closest he's going to get. Cliff, where does Chris Paul go from here?
This is the closest he's gotten and will get, because there's never been a path laid out like that to the finals for somebody. So to not capitalize is rough. And I think we can have the debate of which roster, if we look top to bottom, which roster is better. That might be preserved for another time. But yeah, I think this was his best 10. Now, what does he do going forward? I mean, does he pull a Clyde or a Charles and just like go to Houston, like equivalent of Charles Barkley going to play with the Rockets and Olajuwon? Does he go to LA to play with LeBron? I don't know, because if the Lakers can somehow get Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard, I mean, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna be able to get all that.
Ain't gonna be able to do all that. Right,
they ain't gonna be able to do all of that. But and I think, to be honest, I think Chris Paul is trying to get one more big payday.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's gonna take. The only way he might take a discount to go to to win with the Lakers, if Dennis Schroeder is completely gone. We don't know. You know, I think he's gone, but we don't know for sure. But I think Chris Paul wants to get one more big payday. But Eugene, where do you think? First of all, did you say you was rooting for Chris Paul or
no? This is the thing. Like, I like Chris Paul. I think he's a dirty player.
Yeah,
I think he's a dirty player. I think he doesn't get a lot of that light because of who he is. The State Farm commercials. You know, it's the president of the Players Association. So, but this is the thing. Like, and this is like 2015 when he had his Clippers team, and I told my cousins, and he's like, I said if you don't win a championship now. Because remember, that's when Dame was coming, Steph was coming, Westbrook was coming. It's a monster. And I said the type of point guard he is, he's gonna have to have like a team like Isaiah Thomas had, like score, defensive player, like because of his stature. And so like you said, it was perfectly laid out for it. Like, again, injuries happen. So Book eliminate the Lakers. They got they got rid of the Nuggets because Jamal Murray didn't play, right? You take care of who you take care of, right? And then they play the Clippers and Kawhi didn't play. So this was perfectly laid out for you. Yep. And I mean, he's older. Like, people don't understand. Like, I'm 40. Like, he's got to be like 36, 37.
36.
It's hard as hell to move the way. And I was impressed. For me, I like older players who still gut it out. Like, it showed me he still has that fire in him. But, like Drew Holiday, at his age where he's at, Drew Holiday's right there with him. And so that's a difficult, and for a player to age that way, and I'm pretty sure like after game 5, probably like, damn, like, I know I'm better than him as far as career, but right now my body just can't give me what it used to.
He looked old.
And so he's old, man. And he's a dirty player. But I don't know what he's going to do, because if you go to the Lakers, that means you're swapping out Schroeder for him and all that money. And so now you strapped, because now you're going to have shooters, right? You still got that KCP contract. He makes a lot of money. Yep. So, and who's going to take that, right? So
he has a player option for like 40 some million with Phoenix. Only way he's opting out of that if he can get a little bit more, and they give him like a 2 or 3 year deal where he can get more overall. Go ahead, Cliff.
There's twice, and I love that he brought this up, that team in LA. I think this is the second time in Chris Paul's career where he had a team that was perfectly built around him. They built that super team for him. Yes. This Phoenix squad was built perfectly for his style of play, that old school pass first point guard, and the way he can control the clock and the tempo, how he's not, even at his age, he's not a defensive liability. Yeah. This is the second time in his career where he's made a deep run in the playoffs, and the team was built for him to win, and he just didn't get over the hump. And I put this loss on him.
Yeah.
I can't put it entirely on him. Booker and Aiden had played a part in that. But I would say this. You brought up a point about him on the defensive end. I remember Chris Paul was an elite defender.
Yes.
I seen them abuse him. I seen Drew Holiday try to take him down in the post.
He's old.
And take him down in the post. They didn't used to do that to him.
Yeah, but he's my age. I get off the Peloton and my knees hurt. Imagine playing 32 basketball games.
Yeah. Hey, Chris Paul, he looked old, man. And it felt kind of bad. Like, dang, he getting old right before our eyes.
I think that wrist too was bothering him.
Yeah.
Because the game, if you paid attention to the game plan, If you force him right, he's going to pull up. If you force him left to the help and make him finish, because he doesn't finish with his left,
right.
He finishes with his right.
Right.
He's going back into the team of the defense. It was turnover after turnover, and see, he's a savvy player because he can shift angles and get back to the right. Well, if you force him left, that's what I kept. Y'all said they forcing him left, and that's when he had the bad game. Was it game 3 or was it game 4? He had the terrible game.
I remember he turned that, and when he
turnover,
the ball over, he was losing the ball.
Yeah,
I definitely think he was hurt a little bit. Go ahead, Cliff.
Real quick, because you just made me think of something. So one of the 100 reasons I can't stand Chris Paul, you could call it savvy because that's a sophisticated, like very. I mean that's a nice diplomatic way of characterizing it. I would say that the dude is dirty, and because of how games are officiated, some of the causes of some of his injuries. If you blow on this man, kind of like LeBron, if you blow on him, he's going to contort himself like he's having an exorcism, and then just fall to the ground. And that's how he got hurt in round 1 of the playoffs, or in round 2 of the playoffs, because he keeps doing all this silly stuff, and he taught Jay Crowder that. So, like, if you just flick one of his hairs, he's going to act like a shotgun shell hit him. It's ridiculous. I can't stand watching this man play basketball.
Oh, but to your point, I want to get this in real quick. I agree with that Giannis point. Because if you look at what they asked him about LeBron, remember LeBron was sitting the courtside. This is I don't like them. But anyway, he's sitting courtside, right? And he's making it known he's there, right? He's there for his guy. That's cool, right? But I love his answer after the game. He said, he gave him love. He said, he's been in the finals since I was 7 years old. That's crazy, right? But he said, I don't engage with players like that. And see, you got to pay attention to what he's trying to tell you. I'm not them. That's what he's basically saying. I'm not them. I'm a different type of dude. I might not be from this country, but we get down a little different. And so I love that. I love that about him. And
I ain't even get a chance to talk about how he got his own tequila in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, what we doing here? How you do that? Like,
trying to show up people, man. That's what he's trying to do.
But then they were like, okay, is he there for his boy CP3 or is he promoting his movie? Is he promoting his own tequila? What is going on there?
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
Right.
That's in the past tense.
Right.
But, listen, we about to get up out of here, man. Just wanted to touch on these championship Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis and everything with Milwaukee. You enjoy yourself out there, Eugene, brother. You know what I'm saying? Out there in Deer District, all the fans and all that good stuff. I want to also remind y'all all the time, hey, listen, subscribe to the YouTube. Get them numbers up for us. Follow, like us, review our page on Facebook. Like the reviews, like to hear what the people are thinking about the show. Instagram, follow us on Instagram. We even on TikTok now. Follow us on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? And we always got the merch. We got merch. We even got masks. Y'all seen these rising numbers with the COVID, man. You know what I'm saying? These masks might be back enforced again. So we got the Allen Pals mask if you would like that. If somebody want to advertise on the show, message us. We can make that happen. So listen. Hey, man, appreciate Cliff. Good seeing you back again, brother, holding us down in LA.
Oh, yeah. Good to be back. Glad to have you.
Eugene, thank you for holding us down, man. And busy Milwaukee title town right now, you know what I'm saying? And we appreciate it. So listen, we're gonna see y'all back Tuesday. The NBA finals are over. NBA season is over. So we will catch y'all back Tuesday next week. We are out this thing.
We lock and load, Allen Pals. It's the Allen Pals show.